Alright everyone, let me start off this video by saying there will be a pinned comment down below with a link to Critical Race Theory Debunked. I wrote a short booklet on the topic because a lot of people don't have the time to read 400 or 500 pages of dense literature, so I decided to condense it and cover the 5 main premises of CRT and debunk them each in step along with some attendant material. There's also a link in the description of the video. Now, critical race theory is unpopular. Even in cherry-picked rigged polls, rigged or missampled, methodologically incompetent, whatever you want to chalk it up to, malevolence, ignorance, stupidity, whatever. Even those show that a majority of Americans, and in many cases a supermajority, oppose critical race theory, specifically being taught in schools. Now, I do not care if a private school wants to cover critical race theory, whether it's promoting it or antagonistic towards it. It's a private school. I do have a problem with fake history being taught to students in an academic context in which it's taxpayer funded. This is the same as creationism. Evolution is reality. That should be taught in public schools. If they want to mention the fact that there are people that disagree, here's intelligent design, whatever, that's perfectly fine, but they don't need to be indoctrinated into what is fundamentally a religious premise. But if a private school wants to, I don't care if they say that the world was created on the back of a goddamn turtle. Because I'm not funding it, so fuck it, who cares? Other people, they have that right to association. This is the libertarian ideal. The Democrats are trying to pivot. Now they're not using the term critical race theory, they're calling it school equity. That's very interesting. They're bringing up that overused and usually misused term, equity again. You see, the problem is equity in the conceptual sense, in the theoretical sense as it's presented by the left, is I'm at the top. You know, I'm a privileged white male of some means. I reach my hand down and I pull my fellow man up just a little bit to give him an even playing field. I give the black man an even playing field and the white woman, because women are oppressed too, and someone who's gay or something. And so I uplift these people. I'm helping them. The problem is that's not actually ever how it works. The problem is what it really means is that someone who believes in CRT and wokeness and all this stuff comes along and pulls down all the people at the top. They're not uplifting anyone else. Teaching people junk history does not uplift anyone. If anything, it weakens the civic fabric of the United States, which, trust me, for some of these people who are literal Marxists, is actually the goal. Believe it or not, that Cold War mentality straggles on. They didn't win on class warfare, so now they're hoping to win on racial warfare. This will morph over time beyond this too. Unfortunately, subversive plots will never end. And by the way, that's what it is. It's basically spy versus spy. The funny thing is that the boomers were right and they just took their eye off the ball and got complacent because of good economic times. Jimmy Carter aside, of course, or Bush-Obama. But the Democrats are trying to rebrand this because they're taking attrition now for having supported critical race theory. The problem is they didn't expect that independent commentators and people on the right or libertarians, basically anyone who's not a leftoid, would successfully convince people that critical race theory was essentially what it really is. Number one, backed by Marxism. Number two, junk revisionism, whose premises literally self-refute. I point out there are 2 of these 5 main premises of CRT refute themselves. You don't even need to argue against them because they're literally, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy that they are self-evidently wrong because the premises themselves, in the course of a few short sentences, self-contradict. It's very interesting. So it's revisionist and it's also bigoted. It is literally a form of bigotry against majority groups. Essentially, it professes that those groups have something to apologize for and atone for, and the government should be coordinating this. By the way, this is one of the self-refuting concepts of CRT. In the same breath that they say that the power structures in the United States and the West in general were created by and for white people and are explicitly and inherently filled to the brim with bigotry, we want to make those structures bigger and more powerful in order to enact racial justice reforms. Well, of course, as I point out in this work and in my video paired on the subject, which I made about a month ago, a house divided against itself will not stand. CRT is literally based in part on Marxism and professes that Martin Luther King was basically a goddamn loser. Now, if Americans knew that that was the case, and this is why CRT is falling out of favor, because more and more of them do, if they knew this, they would largely reject it. Because in order to embrace a Marxist theory that the civil rights struggle was actually horseshit, damn, you're not going to find a lot of Americans who believe that to be the case. You might find some Americans that believe in one or another, but Marxists tend to be pretty positive towards Martin Luther King or Malcolm X. Or Louis Farrakhan, maybe. People who are positive towards the civil rights movement, they may not like Marxism or something, but they're going to take one look at critical race theories, propositions, and they're going to largely reject them. The problem for the Democrats, therefore, is that they latched onto something that they envisioned would be popular. So, see, they're overstretching just like I told you they would. They've gone off the funny farm cliff like a bunch of goofy lemmings, and they went way, way, way out there, and they started alienating people, and now they're trying to segue their way back. But it's not working. Partially because we have the internet. Everything they say is archived. Why do you think archival services are so hated by laystream media and big tech and all these other sites? They hate the fact that I encourage people to use archive.today. Fucking, if you're using that, if you're feeding me news tips and you're archiving them, they're not getting as much clickbait money. Oh my God. There is a war for your mind. But on this particular issue, definitely the Marxists not only have lost, but they've lost quite badly, which is why they're calling it school equity now. We just want to be more equitable in an educational context. That's all. We want to help the brown people, which is, again, some of the terms they use are blatantly racist. Like people of color, how is this different from colored people? If you walk around using that latter term, people say, what are you stuck in? It's not 1950 anymore, 1960, the segregation is over. Well, it's the same thing. It's even the same words in a different order. What's the fucking difference? Brown people, yes, okay, someone from Indonesia automatically has a lot in common with a Venezuelan. The hell are you talking about? The CRT is bigoted, and the woke-toids are bigoted too. By and large, they literally are. No, unfortunately, I've interacted with them before. That's about all. Peace out.